Welcome to this session on literary criticism. Dear students, welcome to the third session on literary criticism. In the previous class, we have initiated a discussion on Plato. Today, we will particularly focus on the contributions of Plato. The first lesson in your first module discusses a few of the concepts proposed by Plato. I have given three major contributions of Plato here, of which the first one is the theory of forms. The theory of forms was explained systematically in Phaedo and the Republic. The second important theory proposed by Plato is his doctrine of imitation. This is a theory regarding artistic works. And next is his viewpoint on poets and poetry. He disapproves poetry on several grounds, and he strictly advocates censorship of poetry. He also pointed out the didactic functions of poetry, which means poetry should aim at the moral enlargement of humanity. Poetry should impart some sort of goodness or virtue in human beings. So, an educative function should be there in every poetic piece according to Plato. And he also does a comparison of poetry with other disciplines like philosophy. And in his dialogues, he also mentions his perspectives about poets and poetry in general, and specifically about poetic inspiration. So, three major concepts of Plato: theory of forms, doctrine of imitation, and his views on poetry and poets. Let us now focus on the theory of forms. Plato was totally dissatisfied with the vision of the world offered by the poets. Therefore, he tried to explain the physical world in a new light. He wanted to bring out what is reality. The familiar world of objects, which we understand by our senses, is not independent. It's not a self-sufficient world. It's not a real world according to Plato. He said this physical world which we see around us is dependent on another world. This other world is the realm of pure forms or pure ideas. We cannot understand this higher realm using our bodily senses, but we can understand this higher realm, this realm of pure forms, only by way of our reason. He goes on to characterize entire objects as having their essence in the ideal forms. According to Plato, the world of forms alone constitutes the reality. This world of forms, it is changeless and eternal. So, here we are discussing the theory of forms proposed by Plato. What he meant is the physical, the concrete world which we perceive using our bodily senses, it's not a real one according to him. It's totally dependent on a higher realm which is beyond human reach. This higher realm is constituted by ideal forms or purest forms. And he draws our attention to the connection of this world with that ideal world, with that realm of pure forms. And he said that we can understand this higher realm of pure forms only by way of our reason. You cannot sense it using your senses, body senses. So he said that the world of forms alone constitutes the reality. It is the world of essences. unity and universality. But the physical world is characterized by perpetual change and decay. So, the world which we see with our eyes, it is susceptible to decay. It is subjected to change. But this higher realm of pure forms, which is beyond human reach, which can be understood only by way of reason, this is eternal and changeless. So, theory of forms states that the world of forms alone constitutes the reality, and the physical world of objects which we see around us is not a real world. Hope you understood. So you can see the same points in the slide. The physical world is characterized by change and decay, and the higher realm which Plato referred to, it is the world of essences and universality. So if you find something in the world is beautiful, it's because it partakes of the ideal form of beauty which exists in the higher realm. So it's only a part of the ideal form of beauty which exists in the higher realm, and it's not beautiful in itself. As I told you before, nothing in this physical world is independent or self-sufficient. It's totally dependent on the higher realm or the other world, which is the world of essences, and it is from that world that things in the world appears beautiful. Hope you understood theory of forms proposed by Plato. I repeat, he believed that things in the physical world which may appear concrete and definite before our eyes, they are not real. They may appear to be real and original, but they are not in fact real. They cannot stay on their own. They are not self-sufficient or independent, but they are dependent on a higher realm constituted by the purest of all forms, and this higher realm is different from the physical world. Physical world is one which can change and one which is susceptible to decay, whereas the higher realm is a pure realm where there is no decay, it is eternal, it will be there forever, and it is the world of essences. And this world of pure forms, this alone constitutes reality. Of course, there were objections against the theory of forms. The first problem is this: there was no clarity when Plato tried to explain the connection between the physical world and this higher realm and this real world. So he could not convince others about the connection between the physical world and the ideal, the purest realm of forms. And he used many Greek words to explain this, and those Greek words are translated into English as imitation, participation, and commonness. You can explain the relationship between physical world and the world of pure forms using words like imitation. One is an imitation of the other, or one does participate in the other, or they are common in essence, and so on. You can try to explain this concept using such English translations of those Greek words, but it was not clear and convincing. And Aristotle, disciple of Plato, also pointed out that Plato was mistaken in viewing the forms themselves as actually existing in some abstract realm. So, though Aristotle was a disciple of Plato, he was bold enough to point out the misconceptions of his master. He said that you cannot safely conclude that forms really exist in some sort of an abstract realm which is beyond human reach. So these are the general objections that were raised against Plato's theory of forms. You should also know these complaints raised against Plato's theory. Having discussed Plato's theory of forms, we will now move on to the second important doctrine, that is the doctrine of imitation. Generally, the Greek word used to denote imitation is mimesis. So let's see what is this theory of imitation or mimesis. Plato made an axiomatic statement that all art is mimetic. Every art form is a kind of an imitation. According to Plato, idea or a concept is the only reality, and various kinds of artists are trying to imitate this reality. In that sense, every art form is an imitation of reality. So I'll make it simple. For example, God had an idea or a concept of a flower in his mind before he created a real flower. So we can take it as number one. This flower, the idea or the concept of a beautiful flower which God had in his mind, this is number one. And he created a real flower in the physical world, and we'll number it as 2. And imagine a painter is observing this beautiful flower and he is reproducing this on a white sheet of paper using his colors. Now you got an image of the beautiful flower. So this is version 3. So what is that painting ultimately? This painting is an art form, right? So this art is actually a reflection of the real flower that he perceived using his eyes. And this real flower which he saw in the concrete world is an imitation of the concept or the idea which God had in his mind. In that sense, art is an imitation of an imitation. Art is thrice removed from reality. So according to Plato, the only reality is it exists only in the higher realm of pure forms which is beyond human reach, which means the idea or the concept originally exists in a higher realm. So this is the only reality, and it's getting reflected through the real creation, and it's imitated by an artist when he's trying to paint a picture, or when he's trying to write a poetry, or when he's trying to perform a dance based on it. So let it be any art form. Every art form is a kind of an imitation of an imitation. So in that sense, all art is mimetic. All art forms are trying to imitate an ultimate reality. And where does this ultimate reality lie? It's there with the higher realm of pure forms. Just have a look at this slide. Plato's triad. As I told you, art is thrice removed from reality. He gives the example of a carpenter and a chair to understand the theory of imitation. For example, when God had the concept of bed in his mind, a piece of furniture which human beings can use to rest and relax. And imagine if a carpenter is trying to create a real bed in the physical world. Okay? And then imagine a photographer taking a picture of the real bed, or a painter drawing a picture of the real bed. Or imagine a chair. Let it be a chair. When a carpenter carves out a piece of wood into the form of a chair, what is he doing? He is trying to imitate an original concept, an original idea which existed in the higher realm. And then what is he doing? What is the photographer or a painter doing? When it is being photographed, it's a third version, or when it is being put on paper using pencil and color, it is the third version. So the artistic forms are thrice removed from reality, and the imitator, the artist who imitates, he knows nothing of reality but only the appearance. So the one who tries to paint it or draw it, he has just seen this appearance with his mundane eyes, and he doesn't know, or he hasn't witnessed the reality. He has only seen the external appearance, and then he is trying to copy that in an art form. So this is a typical example which people normally say to explain Plato's doctrine of imitation or mimesis. So in general, what you should understand is this: Plato believed that ideas or concepts which lie in a higher realm of pure forms, this is the only reality, and whatever you see around you, the concrete, the definite, the physical existence around you, this is only an imitation of that ultimate reality which lies elsewhere beyond human reach. So today we tried to have a glance into the contributions of Plato. Three main areas are discussed in your first lesson. We tried to explain the first two today. The first one was the theory of forms regarding reality. The second one is the doctrine of imitation or the theory of mimesis, a theory regarding artistic representations. And in the next class we will be dealing with Plato's viewpoints on poets and poetry in general. Thank you.